Karen hit my daughter for her Afro. Then my sister, the federal judge, showed up. Written in first person by Tasha, the narrator, sister to Judge Nina Walker. I never thought I'd see my daughter get slapped in broad daylight by a grown woman, much less on our own front lawn. And I never thought that slap would be the spark that burned through an entire neighborhood's mask. My name is Tasha Monroe. I'm a single mom, a middle school counselor, and I've always taught my daughter, Layla, to use her voice with dignity, not volume. We moved into Sunstone Grove 4 months ago, hoping for a fresh start, clean sidewalks, a decent school, and enough backyard for Layla to chase her puppy, Muffin. I didn't know we were moving into a HOA-obsessed suburb run by a woman named Karen Whitlock. Yes, her real name. And yes, she lived up to every syllable of it. She wasn't on the city council. She wasn't part of any legal HOA recognized by the county, but she had laminated badges, armbands, and a clipboard army of lawn-sniffing vigilantes to back her up. Layla is 10. Her favorite thing in the world, wearing her hair in an Afro puff so big it brushes her shoulders like a cloud. She says it makes her feel like a superhero. I always smile when I see her fluff it before school. It's her crown, and she wears it with joy. But joy has enemies. And Karen didn't just hate non-standard landscaping or unapproved mailbox colors. She hated difference. And worse, she wielded fake authority like a weapon. The first incident was minor. Karen left a pink citation taped to our door that read, "Your daughter's hairstyle is distracting to neighborhood order. Please keep styles neat and standard. No HOA seal, no legal citation, just arrogance in bold font." I laughed. I tore it up. But I should have known tyrants don't quit after one no. Then came the day of the slap. It was a Saturday morning. Layla was setting up her lemonade stand with 2 neighbor kids, Ethan and Mia, both white. I was in the kitchen rinsing dishes when I heard it. A pop, like a palm hitting flesh. Then the scream. I bolted out the door. Layla stood there, one side of her hair completely mashed, her eyes wide, hands trembling. Karen towered over her, her sunglasses slipping down her nose, screaming, "I told you, this street has standards. This mess of a hairdo attracts the wrong kind of attention." I didn't even hear the neighbors at first. Everything went tunnel quiet, except for my daughter's whimpering. Then the murmurs began. Phones came out. Ethan's mother, Emily, was the first to shout, "Are you insane? You hit a child." Karen didn't back down. She disobeyed a direct community directive, and she was selling without a permit. I stepped in, body shaking. "You put your hands on my daughter. You just committed assault." Karen rolled her eyes. "You're lucky I don't call the cops on you." I narrowed my eyes. "You might want to check the law before you do that. My sister is the law." Her scoff told me she didn't believe me. That would be her first mistake. It only took me 30 seconds to dial my sister. "Nina," I said through clenched teeth. "She hit Layla. Some psycho HOA lady just slapped my daughter because of her hair." There was silence on the line. Then the calm, lethal voice of Judge Nina Walker. "I'll be there in 4 hours. Keep her safe. Do not retaliate. Yet." That "yet" told me everything. Nina's not just any judge. She's a federal one, appointed by the president 3 years ago. The kind who wears those heavy black robes and stares down billion-dollar corporations with a look. The kind who knows what the Constitution tastes like, because she's had to bite down on it to keep it from being shredded. She's also Layla's aunt, and the closest thing to a lion I've ever known. I spent the next few hours trying to comfort Layla and process the surreal blur. The slap mark had faded into a bruise, but the shame clung to her like smoke. "Did I do something wrong?" she asked, eyes full of tears. My voice cracked. "Baby, no. You were perfect. She was the one who was wrong, and she's going to learn exactly how wrong she was." The neighbors were abuzz. Emily, Ethan's mom, brought over cookies and an apology that wasn't hers to make. I knew Karen was strict. She said, but I didn't know she was violent. Turns out, this wasn't Karen's first time crossing the line. She'd berated a teenage boy for wearing a durag while skateboarding. accused a Pakistani family of hiding code violations behind their privacy fence, but no one had ever had the power or the courage to challenge her. Until now, around 6 p.m., a black SUV rolled into Sunstone Grove. Out stepped Nina Walker in a navy suit, heels clicking like a metronome of fate. Her law clerk, Samira, a sharp-eyed young woman with a legal pad already open, followed behind. They didn't come quietly. "Where is she?" Nina asked. I pointed to Karen's house 3 doors down, with its American flag hung crooked and a white picket fence like fangs. We walked together. Neighbors watched from porches and windows. The street turned quiet, breath held. Karen was watering her front lawn with a smugness only the truly delusional can achieve. When she saw us, she smirked. "Oh, you brought backup," she said. "What? Is she your lawyer?" "This is my street." "No," Nina replied, flashing her badge. "I'm a United States District Court judge. You committed assault on a minor, and I'm here to ensure that every appropriate authority is involved." Karen's smirk faltered. You don't have jurisdiction over Save It. You laid hands on a child under false pretenses of HOA authority. According to county records, Sunstone Grove has no registered HOA. What you're running is a fraudulent organization. Samira pulled out a manila envelope and handed it to Karen. "This is a cease and desist for impersonating a homeowners association officer. You'll also find a summons regarding the assault. Expect child protection services, the local DA, and possibly federal oversight if we uncover a hate crime pattern." Karen's hands trembled. "You can't do this." Nina's voice dropped. "Watch me." The neighbors were no longer hiding. They were filming every word, every tremble, every lie unraveling in 4K. Karen tried to slam her door. Nina stopped it with her heel. "One more thing. If you destroy evidence, intimidate witnesses, or try to coerce neighborhood silence, we will prosecute to the fullest extent of federal law." Karen finally stumbled back inside. Her garden hose forgotten, water spraying wildly across the porch like her composure. We turned to leave. That's when the floodgates opened. 3 neighbors approached us with their own stories. Fake fines, racial harassment, property damage, all signed HOA Chair Karen Whitlock. Nina's face grew darker with each one. "She's been running a fake HOA racket," I whispered. Nina nodded, "and now she's about to answer for it in court." That night, Layla slept with her head in my lap, Nina reading "The People Could Fly" aloud beside us. The slap might have started this war, but justice was coming for Karen, and it wasn't just about hair anymore. Nina didn't come just to confront Karen. She came to build a case. By Monday morning, she had assembled a war room in my dining area legal pads, color-coded folders, a portable printer humming by the window. Samira coordinated calls with county officials, a legal investigator from the district office, and even the IRS. Nina wasn't just my sister now, she was the sword and shield for every neighbor Karen had silenced, bullied, or fined into submission. And the stories kept pouring in. Mrs. Gutierrez, a sweet woman in her 60s, showed us crumpled pink envelopes marked violation notice that said her vegetable garden was inappropriate for community aesthetics. When she refused to remove it, Karen allegedly left dog feces in her planters caught on a blurry doorbell camera. Jameer, a college sophomore living with his grandmother, told us how Karen once reported his car as abandoned just because it had a Black Lives Matter bumper sticker. The car was towed during finals week. His tuition money went toward recovering it. And then there was the Martins, an interracial couple who said Karen tried to keep their adopted black daughter from attending the Halloween block party, claiming her costume wasn't age-appropriate. The girl had dressed as a fairy. None of these families knew each other well. That was Karen's strategy: keep us isolated, ashamed, believing we were the problem. Until now, by Wednesday, Nina had uncovered the biggest lie of all. Karen's HOA, the Sunstone Grove Neighborhood Enforcement Council, was never registered with the state or county. The name didn't appear in any property records or tax filings, but the worst part, Karen had created a bank account under that fake HOA name and had been collecting dues. Thousands of dollars. No oversight. She'd sent out PayPal invoices, threatened liens, charged compliance fines that never went to any city account. The account was linked to her personal name and routed to a second vacation property in Arizona. It was fraud, plain and ugly. Nina looked up from the bank documents and whispered, "She's not just petty, she's a criminal." I felt sick, not because it surprised me, but because I had let Layla grow up thinking this woman's authority was real, thinking she had to accept what Karen did. That shame churned into something stronger. Resolve. We had enough for a formal report. Nina assembled a document that included witness statements from 11 households, bank records connected to the fake HOA account, video clips from 3 neighbors showing verbal harassment, my sworn affidavit about the assault on Layla, evidence of racially biased patterns in enforcement. That afternoon, we walked into the county office with the whole folder. The clerk's eyes widened. "Judge Walker, you're filing this, I'm not filing it," Nina said. "I'm flagging it for federal interest. There's civil rights violations, financial fraud, and child endangerment all tangled in this." Within the hour, the sheriff's office had sent 2 deputies to Karen's house not to arrest her, but to begin formal investigation protocol. The sight alone, the black and white cruiser parked in her driveway, rippled through the cul-de-sac like a seismic wave. Karen came out shrieking. "You can't do this to me. I am the HOA," one deputy calmly replied. "Ma'am, there is no HOA, and we need you to come down to the station for questioning." The crowd that had gathered didn't clap. They didn't cheer. They simply watched, silent, awed, as if they were witnessing the fall of a dictator. That night, Layla finally smiled again. She curled up next to me on the couch and whispered, "Aunt Nina's like a superhero." I looked at my sister, her sleeves rolled up, reading one last affidavit before bed. "No, baby," I said, "she's not a superhero. She's what a grown-up looks like when they don't let bullies win." But just as we began to breathe, the news broke. An anonymous neighborhood Facebook page called Sunstone Truth had posted a video, a distorted, grainy version of the slap, cropped and edited to make it look like Layla had provoked Karen. The caption read, "The real story the media won't show you, child instigates confrontation with community safety officer." Within an hour, it had 3,000 shares. Within 2, my inbox was filled with hate. Someone was trying to flip the narrative, and Karen wasn't alone. The morning after the edited video went viral, Layla refused to go to school. She stood at the top of the stairs, her lunchbox dangling in one hand, her shoulders small but tense. "What if they believe it?" she whispered. "What if they think I was the bad one that broke something in me? Not the usual crack, but a clean, sharp break that made everything after it clearer. This wasn't about me, or even Karen. This was about every kid who had ever been punished for existing too boldly, for wearing their skin, their hair, their joy too proudly in a world that demanded they shrink." I hugged Layla tight, then looked her straight in the eyes. "Then we show them the truth. All of it." By that evening, Nina had coordinated a press conference. She didn't call a big city station or some national media circus. She called Jameer, the college student Karen had targeted. He was majoring in digital media, and he brought friends. They set up a live stream rig on my porch. Microphones, lights, a wide-angle camera with crisp audio. Nina stepped forward first, poised in a blazer and jeans, no makeup, no pretense. "This is not a political statement," she began. "This is not a legal argument. This is the story of a child who was struck in public by a woman who pretended to represent law. And it is the story of a neighborhood that has lived under the shadow of that lie for far too long." Then she handed me the mic. My voice shook, but I didn't look away from the lens. "I'm Tasha Monroe. I moved here because I believed in community. But community doesn't mean conformity. It doesn't mean we all have to look the same, or act the same, or submit to people who abuse fake power. My daughter was hurt not just by a hand, but by a system that let that hand feel entitled." Layla stood beside me, holding my hand. Her afro was big and bold and perfect. That stream reached 20,000 viewers in 12 hours, and that's when everything shifted. The mask came off. Within days, 5 more families came forward, families not from Sunstone Grove. Karen had allegedly advised other neighborhoods on how to self-regulate without relying on inefficient city channels. They showed us templates nearly identical to the pink violation slips Karen used here. They'd been mailed from the same P.O. box. Nina pulled Samira aside. She was exporting her model, she said grimly, spreading a network of fake HOA power. We weren't looking at a neighborhood grudge anymore. We were looking at organized fraud and civil rights abuse stretching across county lines. That's when the Department of Justice got involved. Nina briefed a contact she knew from her years as a clerk in D.R.C. By the end of the week, 2 federal investigators arrived, a sharp black woman named Cynthia Moore and her partner, Agent Torres. They weren't just here to ask questions. They were here to build a case. We gave them everything: the videos, the financial trail, the hate mail I received after the Facebook video. And the kicker, a digital forensics report Jameer had run that traced the viral video edit back to Karen's husband's work laptop. It was textbook defamation, weaponized misinformation, and they had tried to use it against a child. But karma doesn't knock politely. It kicks the damn door down. On Thursday morning, the front page of the County Sentinel ran the headline, "Fake HOA Queen Faces, Federal Investigation Alleged Assault, Fraud, and Hate Targeting." Neighborhoods underneath was a still from the live stream. Layla, chin up, Afro glowing like a halo. The same day, the real sheriff's department served Karen with a search warrant. Her house was raided. They found over 50 folders of citations and compliance forms, along with neighborhood blueprints marked with red ink houses circled with notes like "weed problem," "unkept driveway," or "too many guests, investigate source." Even worse, one folder was labeled "High-Risk Targets Track." Closely, 4 of the 5 families listed in that folder were black or brown. The fallout was immediate. Karen's employer, a real estate firm, fired her. Her husband, a city code compliance officer, was placed on administrative leave pending an ethics investigation. Local officials distanced themselves. The Facebook video was flagged as manipulated content and removed. She was served with a civil rights lawsuit and a pending criminal charge for assault and impersonation of public authority. And the street changed. Emily organized a community meeting, the first one in years, that wasn't under Karen's grip. Nearly every household attended. People cried, apologized, hugged. Some were ashamed they hadn't spoken up sooner. Some admitted they hadn't believed people like me or the Martins or Jameer's family because Karen made it easy to look the other way. That night, we lit candles in front yards for Layla. Not in mourning, but in honor. I tucked Layla into bed and asked if she felt safer. She nodded. "Because now people see her." "Who?" I asked gently. She smiled. "The mean lady. They see her now, not just her clipboard." And just like that, I knew my daughter had more clarity than most adults. The day Karen was officially indicted, it rained in Sunstone Grove. Not the heavy, destructive kind of storm, no. This was gentle, cleansing. The kind of rain that makes flower beds bloom and sidewalks steam with the smell of new beginnings. Karen had been charged with 1 count of child assault, 3 counts of impersonating public authority, 1 count of wire fraud, 5 civil rights violations, pending DOJ action. The neighborhood where she once ruled with pink citations and snarled orders had become the very stage of her public unraveling. Reporters lined the sidewalk outside her home. Her infamous fake HOA badge was confiscated as evidence. She tried to claim misunderstanding, said she was just trying to maintain order. But truth doesn't care about intention when the harm is that deep. After the indictment, Nina stayed for 2 more weeks. Not just as a judge, not even as my sister, but as a woman committed to finishing what she'd started. Together, we held healing circles outdoor, in the open air. Neighbors sat in lawn chairs with coffee cups and regrets. Everyone who had stayed silent during Karen's reign of fear had a chance to speak. Some apologized, others cried, some simply listened, but everyone came away changed. Then came the garden, Layla's idea. She wanted to turn the HOA compliance zone, a patch of dead grass Karen once used for her flyers and fake notices, into something beautiful. "We should plant flowers," Layla said one morning, "so people see something growing, not shrinking." So we did. Families donated seeds. Nina helped pull weeds in her court robes and sneakers. Even Jameer came with shovels and a Bluetooth speaker that blasted Nina Simone while we worked. We called it the Justice Garden, right in the middle. Layla placed a small wooden sign she'd painted herself, "Grow Loud." Karen eventually sold her house under a different name. Rumor was she moved to Arizona. The house sat empty for months. No one wanted her energy. Eventually, a young couple with 2 adopted children bought it, unaware of the soil's scars. But Layla, she bloomed. She didn't just go back to school, she stood up at school, gave a presentation on Black hair history during Cultural Week, brought in photos of famous women: Angela Davis, Diana Ross, her Aunt Nina. When I asked if she was nervous, she shook her head and said, "People already saw me at my worst, so now they'll see me at my best. As for me, I don't look at neighborhoods the same anymore. I don't assume order equals peace, and I never again confuse silence for safety." I spoke at a county town hall about unregulated HOAs. I helped 2 other neighborhoods discover they'd been duped by advisors just like Karen. I started a blog called Crown and Law, a place for families to share stories like ours. And I keep a laminated photo on my fridge: Layla in her Afro, standing next to Nina in her judge robe, both laughing, both whole. Some people say justice is a hammer. I think sometimes it's a garden, something that must be tended, protected, watered even when others try to pull it out by the roots. Have you ever been silenced by someone in fake power? Have you witnessed community bias but didn't speak? Or maybe you did speak and helped the truth bloom. Share your story, because what happened to Layla isn't rare, but neither is courage. And justice, like gardens, grows stronger when we plant it together.